So, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to host you today on a topic which is very, very, very important in today's context and couldn't have been better timed. We're talking about beyond AI pilots, which and more about proving business value in marketing and CX. All the experiments, all the flirting with AI is now, you know, done enough, and now it's about can we really talk business? Can we really talk impact? Can we now talk the non-frivolous stuff, right? And that's why we thought it'd be nice to bring a group like yourselves together who come with a diverse expertise, be it in business, be it in the domain itself, to really bring perspective to a topic like this and to help the larger industry reflect on the power of AI when it comes to business value as we begin 2026 and just about culminate the first quarter, right? So that said, let me kick this off with a question which I want to sort of take a crack at with all of you, right? And this is going to be like a very opening thought that I want to sort of get from you guys. And yes, as I take that question to you, I'm also going to take this as an opportunity for you to introduce yourselves before telling me more about what I have to ask. So do share with us more about yourself and maybe something which is not on your LinkedIn and which can be interesting for our viewers to know about you. Would be interesting to get as an introduction. Yeah. So that said, so I just want to ask you an open question as you introduce yourselves. What do you think most companies are getting wrong today in AI? And if you had to just say that in one line, what would you say? And I'm going to start with the lady in the room. So Priya, take a crack at it.
Hi, thanks, Monica. I'm Priya. I head marketing at McDonald's. One thing that is not on my CV is that I love trekking, and I just recently climbed 10,000 peak at 10,000 feet peak in the Himachals. So it was a great experience. One thing people are getting wrong about AI today is that because it's so easy to create things, we just default to volume of things, and volume is not always the answer. Because if you could earlier by restricted to making 10 creatives, now just because you can make 100 doesn't mean you should make 100, right? So somewhere to just stop and think is what I think this session will help us with today.
Excellent. That sounds good. Okay, so Gaurav, we must hear from you, given your deep experience in customer interaction, and of course, if I'm not wrong, a PhD in economics. Is that right? That sounds
Yeah.
intimidating. I'll have to be careful with with what I
Yeah,
ask
I
you,
wish,
but
I
go
wish I
for
was
it.
using more of it. Yeah, no. Thank you so much for that intro. Gaurav Anand, I'm a Senior Vice President here at Tata Communications. And one thing that's not on my CV is I like to play golf. I don't get to play enough of it. I'm not very good at it, but there are parts of me that are, very good. So I'm looking for the other parts to catch up. But yeah, so one thing for me that I think is going wrong today, I think AI is everywhere, as everybody knows, right? But it's very fragmented right now. You have pilots that are being run in, customer experience, in IT, in finance, legal, in HR. But everybody's running these pilots sort of in isolation. There isn't, the agents don't talk to each other, and every time anybody runs a pilot, they start from scratch. So, and then they have to build up the whole, stack from connectors to, the context, the guardrails, logging, approvals, everything goes, but it's sitting in pockets. It's very difficult to kind of cross learn and cross pollinate and leverage the scale from it. So I think that's kind of where we're finding where companies are today in terms of what AI could be doing better.
Interesting. That helps. So we'll have Prem go next, and Prem, it'll be good to hear from you again, given your dual hat, Chief Analytics and Chief Marketing both. So that's like a very potent combination in context of what we're going to be talking about today. So tell us, what do you think is going wrong, and tell us a little about what's not on your LinkedIn.
Sure. Absolutely, Monica. Thanks for having me here. A brief introduction about me and my company. I'm Primankar, and I head two functions here at Ambit Finvest. I'm the Chief Analytics and Marketing Officer, right? And talking a bit about Ambit Finvest, we are a mid-sized NBFC. We have a asset under management of close to 5,000 crores, and we are operating in the MSME lending space, right? So if I have to, talk about what's going wrong, right? See, I just want to lay the ground a bit. If we think about it, when it comes to improvement in personal productivity, it has picked up significantly, exponentially over the last couple of years, right? But the same has not happened when it comes to organization, right? Because that comes at a cost. It is not easy, right? And primarily, what underpins the whole situation is AI does not generate value when it is sitting outside your core value chain, right? It generates value only when it is integrated into your core business processes. So in that scenario, it requires two strategic clarity, right? Number one, what are the pain points in my ecosystem which needs to be solved? And number two, given the capabilities of AI, right? Can I rethink my processes so that I can generate strong value, right?
That's
Now,
a good
lack of this strategic clarity leads to two fault lines. Number one, it leads to disconnected implementation, right? So disconnected investments leading to disconnected technologies lying in silos. They don't generate the expected values because they are not talking to each other, right?
So let me come back to you on that one a little more.
Yeah.
As we go deeper into this, let's get Puneet here as well. And Puneet, actually a very special, interaction to have with you, given that you were with MMA in Indonesia, now you're with us in India, and you've done a ton of things, when it comes to your marketing expertise. You've been a Godrejite for a very, very long time, from what I know. Maybe you could share a little more about you with us, and of course, maybe preferably what's not on your LinkedIn.
Right. So I would like to introduce myself as, while I'm VP Marketing at Heritage Foods, which is a second largest dairy company in India, the listed dairy company in India. I would like to introduce myself as a marketer who has seen the generations from 90s till, the 2025. So I've crossed the TV, print, traditional media to social media to now AI age in that sense, at the crossroads of that. So have seen that and kind of adapted to it and transformed situations in various workplaces where I was, be it in India, Indonesia, or even other places outside of the country. Having said that, I think AI, I believe, like I was just saying in the introduction as well, it is at a stage where I think we need another 18 to 24 months to move from this pilot stage into a real impact generation stage. I'm a big believer that AI use has to be with human intervention, because initially, whatever we do, AI will give you the first draft, but the last draft and the approved draft has to come from human beings. And I think that is where I believe that initial use of AI by the experienced team members will not only lead to productivity improvement, which I think we are all using it for personal productivity improvement, but how do we really take it to the level where organizations start to deal with it and start to use it? I think the challenge is to think beyond, not just of it as a tool to be used, but as a problem which exists and I need to solve it using a tool. So I think the problem first approach will help us achieve better results with AI at an organizational level. I think that's my kind of opening thoughts.
Super. Sounds great. And of course, two bits from me. I think whilst I had MMA and I see it across the ecosystem, I think one thing that is probably getting undermined is the power of human intervention, which is what probably right now is going wrong. Maybe we are over leaning on what AI is doing for us, so maybe we need to calibrate that better. Just a perspective that I thought I could share on that note. Gaurav, I'm going to come back to you. And what I want to know from you is, given the hat you wear right now, and given your deep expertise in customer interaction, and you're sort of also seeing it, at a very cross-functional level across organizations. Tell me, what is separating organizations that are scaling AI versus those who are just getting stuck with AI at a pilot level? So, what's the distinction you're seeing there?
So this is a very good question. I think
Yeah.
where I was building up on what I was saying before in terms of companies running AI pilots and experiments and not having the ability to sort of cross learn. I think the fundamental companies that are succeeding are the ones that have been able to sort of integrate their systems and their data that exists, right? I think Prem was also alluding to that fact is that there's a lot of integration debt that exists. So there's there are different CRMs, there's structured data, there's unstructured data that comes along, and I think what's important is companies that have been able to figure out not only that they can integrate this or unify, we call it the data and the systems into some sort of a common semantic layer, and they can then come up with an idea of how different things sort of connect to each other in a more meaningful way. What we call keeping that context, and sometimes the context is not just in policies. If you're thinking about a customer service sort of an environment, things that a senior VP or an agent, what level they have approved in terms of a credit that was given or a problem that was solved. Those are sort of not recorded anywhere. They're somewhere in the notes, and they're not in any kind of policy. So those types of unstructured elements that sort of come together. And I think the other fundamental thing is the governance and the security of it and the safety with which this can be implemented. I think Puneet was also mentioning is that it needs to be done in a manner that it stays in the guardrails and doesn't hallucinate, and hallucination is less of a problem. Security compliance is a much bigger problem, right? And especially as you start to scale. So I think the companies that have been successful are the ones that have been able to sort of solve for this, let's call it the integration debt, or almost like an architecture debt. Companies that have been able to then build this contextual sort of mapping, ontology, sometimes we call it, where folks are, have all of the information at hand of the context in the case of a customer, experience scenario with the journeys, having all the touch points being sort of maintained and the context being transferred from one place to another, and then having this multi-agent, again, those are companies that are getting to that. Very few percentage of the companies have gotten there, but in order for them to get there, there has to be this orchestration that needs to happen between these different agents that sort of exist. So I think the companies that have solved for that integration that have solved for this contextual creating that contextual layer, that have gone to the point of where these multi-agent orchestration successes are happening, and then within that governed framework, and then the ones that are then ultimately able to provide a unified experience to the customer, right? At the end of the day, I think that's where it comes down to, is like right now it's very fragmented. Right?
Yeah, I think you made a very, very valuable point, and it's primarily, seeming to be, like, if I have to sum it up, it's like how strongly you build AI ecosystems and unified data structures to really drive a seamless journey for your customers. So I think that's a great
we almost
way
call
to
it
set
an
the
AI
context.
operating system.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk on top of you, but yeah, it's like we're thinking of it in that terminology. It's almost like an operating system. Yeah, please.
Fair. Yeah, great. So now that we get that perspective, let me take it to each of the marketers. We have three distinct verticals here with us. One is in finance, one is in fast foods, one is in dairy. So I know each one has different, sort of challenges currently around it. We'd love to hear each of the voices. So let me start with financial services. So Prem, if I come to you, and we all recognize the fact that it's very regulated, there's high risk, all of it, right? So how are you working to the path of scaling AI and moving beyond pilots?
Okay. I think that's a very pertinent question, Monica. So now that you have brought in the context of risk and the lending, right? I think we can answer this better in the context of lending ecosystem, right? For example, I would like to bring in the context of, say, an underwriting process or risk management process, where exactly the decisioning around whether to give a loan or not is happening, right? Now, the perception of risk is not around, the fact that a lot more of these decisions are now being taken by AI, or I would say it is AI assisted, right? But the real fundamental shift lies in the fact that we are moving from a mindset shift where in the traditional method or the traditional scheme of things, people would take a lot of judgment based on their experience, and now they are shifting to evidence-based judgments, right? AI basically throws evidence-based judgment. Now, this is not a very comfortable situation. Yeah. So what happens when you are dealing with an AI? Sometimes AI throws an output which does not resonate with your experience. And that leads to some kind of cognitive dissonance. And over a period of time, it builds into some kind of a trust deficit, right? See, so one thing about implementing AI is the fact that, first of all, we need to embrace the idea that everyone in the decisioning layer, right, they need to overcome some kind of confidence threshold to become, to settle down in the new AI ecosystem, right?
Right.
And the implementation should happen in a manner which assists them in bridging that confidence threshold, right? So in my mind, there are three pillars, right? First of all, AI implementation should start with areas where the evidence are the strongest, right?
Okay.
You identify the use cases which have delivered in the industry. So there the resistance is the lowest because you're not asking them to believe in something, you're showing them a proof, right? Now, second point is a robust governance model, right? AI cannot function as a black box model. AI has to be designed in a manner so that it becomes auditable, it is explainable with clear, decision trails. That gives a lot of confidence, right? There has to be very clear guardrails that this is where AI operates and this is where AI does not operate, right? And thirdly, we need to identify certain triggers that if A, B, or C happens, then we roll back the entire AI initiative.
Fair.
If A, B, or C, or C, D, E, or E happens, then you scale it up further, right? This has to be very, very clearly defined. Last and the most important lever in my mind is human in the loop, right? So here we need to differentiate between, recommendation and decision making. While AI can crunch all the data, do all the analysis, its role should be restricted to recommendation. The decision making should lie with the human, right?
Sure.
And as and when in the whole journey, AI behaves consistently, within the guardrails, then we can think about scaling its autonomy, but the critical and supercritical decision has to lie with the human.
Helpful. I think you made a very valid point. What I hear you say is that it's important to have an AI blueprint of sorts, and also to have all scenarios, sort of articulated in terms of in what scenario you scale, in what scenario you pause it, and I think that's a great perspective to get. I'm going to move to you, Priya. You guys, I also remember joined the MMAI Council also, ahead of time, and were one of the founding members there, etc. And you've been experimenting a fair bit with AI in a while, right? But yes, marketing is always under pressure to prove ROI, etc. So whilst yes, you are experimenting, how are you really trying to measure the success of your doing? What kind of matrix are you trying to sort of build, or even evaluate as a build up, given that it's still an early stage? So what's your view there?
Yeah, so I think I had said earlier, right? Just because with AI you can have a lot more output doesn't mean that's what is going to bring you revenue. So I think moving the conversation from quantity of output to quality of outcome is where the real difference is, right? So instead of saying, like I said earlier, instead of doing 100 creatives, can I say that I did these evidence-based creatives, or I did something which I wouldn't have been done with only a human intervention. For example, during CRM, right? We run a regular CRM. But can I program it just to say that as soon as it starts raining, which is unseasonal, can you come up with a message which is about hot coffee, right? So it sort of connects what the consumers are living to what we can offer the consumers without a human intervention. You can almost train an AI model to throw that suggestion up to you. And then the conversation, if it's around, I improve the conversion from 2% to 2.5%, is much more outcome driven than saying we did so many more just inputs basis AI. So I think that conversation is a shift that if we get that into our language of ROI, because marketers are used to saying triple M models or ROMs or return on marketing spends. And if AI can join that language, then it just doesn't become an outside tool, it becomes a key business lever.
Interesting. Very interesting. So Puneet, I'm going to bring the question to you in a slightly different way, right? You're in a category which is all about scale, distribution, and for you, the pilots have to play out at a larger level, right? Like on ground, be it in terms of sales, be it in terms of consumer engagement, demand generation. So how are you trying to dabble with it? Are you seriously exploring scale when it comes to adoption?
The way to see this is a little differently. There are organizations where first party data is what drives everything, right? So a B2B organization or an organization like, we have two of them here, McDonald's, and where there is a lot of customer data, and therefore fulfillment, order fulfillment, demand generation to order fulfillment is in complete control. And there are organizations like ours where brick and mortar is still large. Cows are giving milk every day, and we are procuring it every day to providing it to the consumers in a packet every morning. It's a very short cycle, 2-day product shelf life cycle. So clearly there are parts of the organization which are going to run at that scale, and there the scale can be built only through more and adding more human beings. There is no other. And so the productivity improvement in terms of animals or in terms of deliveries. But beyond that, if I look at a layer of organization where a lot of decision making happens, a lot of predictive analytics is getting used, that is where I see some use of AI use cases coming in, and which is where, for example, last couple of years there have been situations in our demand the distribution management system, for example, in our marketing engine, where content factory automation. So things like this is where AI has got adopted pretty smoothly, because this is where it's more about personal productivity rather than at an organizational level. Now for me, the important thing is to move it from a personal productivity improvement to an organization level improvement. What we'll need to do is a typical project management issues which happen in any organization. It's not just heritage, but anywhere you go, that typically what happens is any project fails because of 3 reasons. One is the objectives are not defined clearly, right? The POC has no ownership, right? And the success was not defined properly. So then it is open to conversation, and then the decision makers will play on depending on the situation whether they like it or not, and therefore there is no short way of saying this works, this doesn't work. So that's the second one. And the last most important part, in any new tool adoption or any new project adoption, the biggest thing is change management. So if you're not doing that properly, then the chances of higher, right?
Sure.
So I think the solution therefore is threefold. One is we have to define very clear objectives, what the problem is and what solution we are looking for. I think if we are able to do that, then whether it's AI generated, it's generative AI, agentic AI, or even an Excel sheet based simple model, as long as it is solving the problem, I think organization will be happier and more productive and better ROI generating, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think along with AI comes two big, caveats, or sort of what we say question marks. One is on the entire AI hallucinating. So whether you go for a large language model or a small language model becomes a big question mark. So if there are processes which where you have enough data and your own source of truth, right, then you can generate from the internal SLMs, and that can actually be honed over a period, and that can become your organization engine. So that's the second part of it. The last part of it is data privacy. I think again there SLMs play a very strong role, because SLMs is where you can control the data, you can own the data without actually
For our
letting
viewers, do you
you know,
want to share the full form of it as well for
uh,
SLM?
s- the SLM is a small language model, LLM is large
Perfect.
language model. I think those are the basic
Yes.
AI terminology. So I think in
Yes.
terms of use of LLM, I think most of us are using the LLM based model like ChatGPT or Gemini or all of that. That is personal productivity improvement. The thing that organization need to watch out is how much data we are feeding into them, which is therefore becoming a public property sort of a thing, or we are training the model using data. I think that's a question mark, and it's a big to me a red flag for all of us to be worried about. On the other hand, if I talk about the SLMs are more like our own data, our own source of truth, and we are trying to instead of a 2 lakh line data point, we are just culling the insights out using our own engine.
Perfect.
So I think that's how we can keep on moving from pilot to real implementation of productive AI use cases.
Lovely. That was quite a masterclass in its own. Actually, Gaurav, I'm going to come back to you. Given the hat you wear, you heard a very unique, sort of challenges yet opportunities from each of our, marketer friends here. And, given that, you get to see it at a cross category level, what according to you are emerging as credible ROI frameworks? And which are beginning to work for enterprises. What's your view there?
No, thank you for that. I think before I answered that, I wanted to address something that Prem said earlier about the AI just being a recommender, and if I'm paraphrasing you correctly, and that human should be act. I think that's a case by case situation. I think it will dovetail into the answer that to your question as well, Monica. Because if you just take an example, I think when we go back to my operating system, where we're talking about systems are talking to each other, the data is integrated, we have the context layer, and it's becoming from a marketing perspective, it's a marketing to a unit of one at this point, right? Every individual is wants hyper personalized information. To address that type of an expectation from a CX perspective, and these days I'm hearing is that one data point I read recently is that certain industries, there's only one bad customer experience and they'll switch brands, right? There's no second chance. So in order for us to be able to deliver that kind of service, all the technology will be stacked up, but AI has to play a bigger role, right? And it doesn't only just have to be a recommender, in my opinion. It has to sense, it has to reason, it has to learn, but it has to act, right? And there are certain ways, and that's where the guardrails come in, and I think that's where the operating system concept comes in handy, because if you think about it in a contact center experience, right? Your calls are coming in now. There is a I don't know if you know this, but in on average, it takes forget the inbound call, post call. It takes about 19, 20, 25 minutes, depending on the industry you're in, for the the agent to do a post-call summary and update all the different CRM systems and so that's you think about the cost structure, and you can argue labor is cheap and so on and so forth, but still it's not productive, right? And it's not really always about cost savings, right? It's all about efficiency. It's all about getting that customer to give the right information, the right time, right channel, right? and completely hyper-personalized. So knowing what they've done before, what their patterns have been, etc. So you have to have AI act, right? So AI is in this case, in some of the systems that we're building in conjunction with the contact center technology, actually allows us to build agents that act, that will do the call summarization, that will actually update the system, that will send a text message at the end. If you take an airline example, a person calls in to make a claim on a ticket, or they want to make a change for some personal reason. The voice AI can do the entire conversation, resolve the issue, up to and including sending a text message or a WhatsApp message and saying, here's your payment link for the change that you want to make, or here's your new itinerary in an email, etc., etc. And if that's not enough, hand over to the human in the loop, and then the human will take over from there, and the AI agent continues to assist that human with the policies that they can, what can they approve, what they cannot. And a lot of times when we talk to our airline industry customers, just using that as a quick example, there's a lot of times people call and complain about how the physical agent treated them, and they want remuneration or some kind of compensation back from them, and they said, well, the manager came and promised me an upgrade to a business class ticket, but there's no record of it, right? So when that call is coming in, we have to take the word. It's a big, massive cost from that standpoint for some of these airlines. But now all of this is recorded, or the AI agent is going to kind of document and say, etc. So acting is extremely important. But what Prem, you also said, which is very important, is that if the agents start acting and there is human in the loop, the audit trail is absolutely important, right? So you need to make sure where and to set that guardrail on when you will make that happen. So most of the time it's use case driven, right? And I think someone said the other day, it was an article in Forbes magazine, I think it was, that they said the customers don't care about channel anymore, right? They don't care where it's coming from. They care about outcome, right? So it's very use case based. Largely, of course, it comes down to, if you continue to use the contact center case, can we reduce the average handle time? Can we reduce the number of first call resolutions, and what does that then mean to cost efficiency? And honestly, it's not really about taking the human agent out of the loop, right? Because as I think Puneet was saying earlier, the human is there for more complex issues, right? And then the emulation, the empathy part of it. But some of the mundane routine tasks that can be automated very easily, and that will give you that ROI that you need. And which is, again, in this case could be customer experience improvements, obviously revenue and cost efficiencies. But there are measures for each business case or each use case that you can use as an indicator of success that kind of will ultimately give you the scale that you're looking for in the business. So it comes down to business outcomes.
Fair enough. Now I'm going to very quickly move to one more question before we close with a very short rapid fire with all of you. Okay, so the last question I have for you guys is that, whilst on one hand it's important to do these experiments, but it's also natural for there to be resistance at an organizational level, right? So there is either resistance or there is lack of skills to, sort of deploy an experiment which you're seeking. So in either case, if Priya, I can start with you. How are you tackling it? And what's it that you're trying to do to be able to do value experiments against constraints available?
So I put this in the same bucket of any risk that I'm convincing management about, and it's not just AI, right? There are a lot of other experiments that you run without this. So it's the same way. It's to make sure that you say it's probably going to take only 5% budget resources, and this is your risk that can give you rewards which are exponential if it works out. So sort of just putting yourself on the line and saying that trust us to run this for a bit, because there is going to be resistance. And if you try to get stakeholder management for stakeholder buy-in for everything, especially when AI is so iterative, you're just going to get stuck in a loop of approvals and nothing will ever move. So you just keep the experiments small and swift till you really hit on something that you think can scale, and then take it for approval.
You want to bring it alive with an example?
I think I think for me it was introducing a new way of, say, doing a limited time promo, and it's the, and in that we had a part of it was AI, but then we just bucketed this whole thing under the 5% risk and ran with it. Like that's how I would say that
Fair enough.
you. That's how you convince people.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on it, Prema? How have you tackled resistance? What are you doing to accelerate the space of experiments?
See, so let me give a more nuanced answer to this, right?
Sure.
I feel the biggest problem when you are working with AI projects is adoption, right? And it has 4 fault lines, right? Number one, like I talked about, a trust deficit, and it's natural to have a trust deficit for various reasons that we discussed, right? The way you address trust deficit is by building a more robust governance ecosystem so that people are able to overcome that trust deficit. Second point is there's a lot of inertia around legacy process, right? No matter what you do, there are certain things which is very difficult to change. For example, a hierarchy of decision making, you cannot challenge that, so some points there is a lot of resistance, a lot of inertia around certain processes which can never change, right? Third point, I think which I believe is very important is the fact that a lot of these AI projects originate in data science silos, right? And suddenly they get into the mainstream, and what happens is, typically, if you don't co-create with your main stakeholders, like tomorrow, if your function head do not have a buy-in and no ownership, no skin in the game of any solution that you developed, it will never get scaled up. That would lead to some kind of resistance. So I think a lot of co-creation is important. And I think one more thing which is not openly set out, there is a intrinsic fear of some kind of identity crisis or job loss. AI has always been equated as, job lost, thanks to the media narrative which has been built over the past so many years, right? But, it all culminates to a situation that sometimes there is no open rebellion, but there is a silent rejection. People slowly drift to older ways of doing things, even though you have invested heavily, even though you have pushed really hard, they drift back to older ways. That's a very dangerous situation. So I think it all boils down to change management. Unless you have a robust change management process where you realign roles, you build the right incentives for AI adoption, right? And you drive certain behavioral changes, AI adoption becomes very difficult. And I think I read somewhere that if an organization decides to spend 100 rupees, 70 rupees has to go towards change management. I don't think a lot of organizations are paying a lot of attention to this space right now.
Fantastic. No, fantastic. This makes so much sense. So basically, you're really talking about resistance in context of legacy structures,
it's always
a behavior, and angles like these, which is actually the more deep-rooted issue than just generic resistance. And I think that was very well articulated, and appreciate that view. Gaurav, from what we're hearing, I'm sure, again, we've spoken so much about resistance and stuff like that. So I'm sure you are also seeing it at a larger level with enterprises that you guys are working across, right? So what is it that really slows down AI adoption according to you with organizations?
Yeah, so I think just building on what Prem said, right? Prem, great summary there. I think it was Peter Drucker who said that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So unless you change the culture of the company and everybody's thinking and, in terms of AI, so it really has to come, top down. A lot of companies have created AI centers of excellence. I think that is a workable scenario. I think that Prem was saying is, have to co-create and find people at the business, folks to be involved in that, co-development. Otherwise, it's seen as a threat, right? Or is it seen as an imposition in some ways? And so yeah, I think it fundamentally is a cultural change. How you drive that is I think it's different in every country, it's different in every geography. And I think largely speaking, it has to come top down. I think it has to be, the silos that I was talking about, everybody running their individual experiments, that is not just a tech or a data or a systems problem. I think it's a cultural problem as well. So I think that unification that needs to happen is at very many different layers. And I think fundamentally, what's going to drive this is going to be not inside out, it's going to be more outside in. So if you're not reacting to what is happening and what the expectations of your customers, and it depends on who you are, whether you're a B2B or a B2B2C, ultimately it's going to come down to how do you, so in some ways AI has kind of leveled the playing field, right? So there are new entrants that are coming in and challenging existing, but then also I think it's given the incumbents or all enterprises the opportunity not just think about doing things that they were doing before better, faster, but actually think about doing new things, right? So fundamentally, that to me is going to add to the scale and the growth, which is not, I don't think, is being thought about as and it's hard to think about it because it's sort of visionary and it's sort of in the future. Because I think that's what's going to drive the migration of this, the workforce, right? So it's not like people are, AI is going to take away jobs, but it's going to create new jobs. And that's fundamentally way to think about that. And how that would be is really up to us, up to the enterprises to, kind of challenge ourselves and think of how we get there.
Awesome. So we got some very interesting views. Now to just close this particular conversation, I'm going to just throw a very, very short rapid fire at all of you. And when I say rapid, I think it needs to be kept rapid even in the answer, and not more than 3 to 4 words. One word is also great. So I'll start with, and I'll just do 2 or 3 in the interest of time. So I'll start with, and each of you need to give it a crack. One thing that companies should stop doing immediately. Gaurav,
Being
take
skeptical.
it. Sorry, Priya.
Being
what did you say?
skeptical about AI.
Awesome. Skeptical. Gaurav.
Just running experiments. Think of it as a bigger play.
Okay,
Broader.
perfect.
Yeah.
Prem?
I think they should stop chasing flashy demos and implement AI more thoughtfully.
Good.
Nice. Puneet?
Yeah, I think stop forcing it on people. Rather, take it as a make it appreciate make them appreciate AI rather than forcing it on the people. I think that's the one thing we need to stop doing.
Interesting. I'm going to move to the next question. One bet which you will take in the next 12 months. Gaurav, let's start with you.
One bet, I would say dive in and think of the bigger picture and not be constrained by the fear of AI.
Super.
Dive
Priya?
in. Yeah, think of the future, the value.
Yeah, it's here to stay, so get on the boat instead of resisting it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the men cannot answer what's already said. Puneet, what are you going to say?
For me, I'll take more specific. I want to create one AI-enabled insight generation engine.
Fantastic. That's a good one. Prem?
I think I would bet on agentic AI ecosystem. I think that's a model which is proven as here to stay for sure.
That's definitely something we should hear more about. Yes. Okay. Last question. Again, just 1 or 2 examples. And names are good enough. We don't need them. Describe. Tell me one AI use case that you think has delivered real business impact. It could be yours or something you've read about. Either. So, Gaurav, again, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think clearly seeing business outcomes in the contact center industry, right? Definitely 35% improvement in resolution time.
Any company you'd like to call out?
We can't take company names,
Okay, fair enough.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Fair enough. Sounds good. Priya?
airline industry. That I can tell you that.
Did you say airline? Did
Yes.
you say airline? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, food. No, I can't. I think my bar is high. It's not really something I can say it's up to the mark yet.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, not bad. Okay. Puneet?
I've seen use cases in tech industries, education tech.
Hmm.
I think what's happening there is they're using right from scheduling to the end objective, including certification and everything. The full cycle is being used using AI interventions, agentic AI and generative AI both. Generative AI more for content and agentic more to ensure that tasks are being done on time. So a real good case of completely AI driven, online business
Lovely.
on tech.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Prem, what do you think?
So I would give an example of something we did in our own organization.
Hmm.
It was one of the back-end, processes, quality check when it comes to documentation, right? There, I think it delivered strong ROIs. A process which would take 2.5 hours, it was done in seconds, right? That's where we have reached. So I think back-end process automation is the real mode. I mean, that's where AI is really delivering more value than, that's my belief. I think it's more valuable than frontline. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I heard back-end operations, I heard airline, I heard ed tech, and as I expected, women still feel there's more to do, and they're not happy yet. And that's what
And I would
Priya
just
said.
I would just add to that, Monica, not to interrupt you. I just said,
Yeah.
very general, but specifically, from a use case perspective,
Yeah.
lead gen is a very common use case right now. Feedback, post-service feedback as an example, right? Restaurant bookings is another one, right? So there's a lot of, I didn't think that we were going specific, but in general, they're all related to, even in terms of our, networking environment, we have a NOC, network operating system. We're even, automating some of the queries, and, AI is proactively looking at where the service is going down, or in our SMS or a WhatsApp area, they're looking to see, proactively how we can identify what the fault is, fix it before the customer even knows.
Yeah, helpful.
So there's a lot everywhere.
No, I'm
Yeah,
glad you
yeah.
brought that up. So it's basically those are the industries we can really borrow
Yeah.
more learnings from, and treat them as success categories. So fantastic. This was such a valuable and rich conversation. I think at the end of it, we've managed to actually put together some sort of a checklist which can probably help folks out there to move from pilots to real value implementation of AI operating systems. So I'm so glad we could have this fantastic conversation with just the right folks here. I'm so looking forward to continue this conversation again, maybe after, we've seen through some of the journeys around how the next 12 months shape, and even earlier. So thank you so much for doing this with us. It was a pleasure talking to you, and see you on the other side.